discussion and argument on the web about stopping power and cartridge selection, it's nice to fall back on the old cliche that the first rule of a gunfight is to have a gun. And this Ruger LCR kind of exemplifies that statement, and that's why I like it so much. The power to weight ratio on this little 5-shot double action only 13.5 ounce revolver is quite excellent. This is a gun that can be with you anytime, any place. I liken it to car insurance. We make the choice to spend lots of money on our premiums so that we're covered for anything that happens with our vehicle in terms of liability and sometimes property damage. And we don't pick and choose, on certain days we're going to have insurance, like maybe say when it's raining out or snowing or slippery. We just make the choice that we're going to have car insurance all the time. And some people take that into their personal life with regard to self-defense, and they make the choice to always be ready, not just when it's convenient, but always have a means of protecting themselves and the people around them. So I think the Ruger LCR is an excellent addition to anybody's arsenal because it gives you more options. It's light enough that if you wanted to carry it when you're walking around the house in your robe and slippers, you could have this thing in the pocket, loaded with some lightweight Glazer safety slugs. This thing's almost not going to be noticeable, but you always have it. You read the American Rifleman Armed Citizen, the NRA publication, and in a lot of those stories, the people are just hanging out at home, and all of a sudden stuff starts happening. Somebody's at the door asking to use the phone or whatnot, and all of a sudden they end up inside the house or overpowering the people. And it would be really nice if at all times a person that decides to defend themselves has something on their person, always. That's what the Ruger LCR is for. So let's just talk about the revolver and how it's made. It's rated for 38 Special Plus P. Has an 1 7/8" barrel that is actually threaded into an aluminum barrel shroud. So the cylinder frame along with the barrel shroud is forged aluminum, and the back part is a they call it long strand polymer fire control housing, and that has the hammer and all the other parts that make the revolver run. The cylinder frame is fitted into the fire control housing in what the Ruger designers term as a V-block configuration, where the recoil of the cartridge actually enforces rather than weakens the joint between the cylinder frame and the fire control housing. The stainless steel cylinder is really neat looking the way it's machined, and it's designed to be highly efficient in terms of space. It's only 1.28 inches in diameter, and that's an important feature because it's the widest part of the gun, making the Ruger LCR the skinniest profile revolver that you can use for personal protection in a 38 Special. The surface of the aluminum frame is hard anodizing fused with a baked-on polymer surface finish that results in a durable black coating with a Rockwell hardness of 60 C. The C scale is used for very hard metals. It's based on the indentation of an industrial diamond. You can compare this to a Glock, which is Rockwell hardness on the C scale of 64. Very close to that, and about the same as in terms of durability to a metal file. Quite hard, harder than most tool steel. These things were tested by Ruger to survive exposure to salt water and to body sweat. It has a roughly 10.5 pound trigger pull that's smooth, and this one's getting smoother. I fired this over 200 times and it seems like it's slicking up. If you want to stage the trigger, there is a pause right there that you can rest at. And there isn't a real lot of over travel for a double action revolver. Of course, you've got to move your finger completely forward on this one, because if you don't, it won't go, the hammer doesn't reset. So you have to, like all double action revolvers, you have to go completely off. And what Ruger did with this is they changed the, they actually cammed the engagement surfaces on the hammer dog and the sear. And what that does is produce less friction and a smoother pull that you don't normally find on small frame snub-nosed revolvers. So the nice trigger makes this thing very easy to handle. It has a polymer fire control housing that I already mentioned, and that combined with this Hogue Tamer one-piece grip really does a good job of lessening the perceived recoil. If you've never had the experience of shooting a relatively high power snub nose revolver like a 38 plus P or a 357 Magnum, you probably can't even imagine how much shock there is to your hand when you're shooting it with no mass to absorb that sharp recoil. So the polymer grip frame and this Hogue Tamer do an excellent job of taking away the pain, which means you're going to shoot your gun more often. You can actually spend a full day at the range. I spent a 5-hour shooting session with this gun, and although my index finger was getting sore because I was shooting a lot of plus P, I was shooting mostly plus P, almost 250 rounds actually is what I put down range that day. My trigger finger started to get sore because when the gun recoils, it tends to slap your finger with the bottom of the trigger guard there. And the first couple times it's not bad. Of course you want to take a real firm grip, but I was doing accuracy tests with the thing and holding on more loose, shooting off a sandbag, this thing would really nail me with the heavier stuff. Plus I was experimenting with hand loads, plus P and plus P plus. I was going way out on the edge with the ammo just to see how this thing would hold up and see how accurate it would be. And one of the things that you'll hear about on the web quite often with this is the fact that there was an individual that had a problem with gas cutting on the top of the aluminum frame. After nearly 250 rounds, this particular firearm has not exhibited that problem whatsoever. There's a little mark from the blast that you'll see on any revolver, but it's not cutting into the frame at all. It's not an issue, and I'm not worried about that at all either with this gun. The cylinder frame on the LCRs fitted to the fire control housing by two fasteners. They're Torx screws, and there's one there on the front of the frame and another one back here. And from what I read, this was actually over engineering by the Ruger designers. They were very confident that it did not need this screw. In fact, they tested it extensively without that screw in place and actually had no problems whatsoever. It was just an example of over engineering because the design was so new that they weren't sure how it would fare over time with lots of heavy use, so they added that to the frame just to make it that much stronger. So as always, I appreciate you watching my video, and please consider leaving a comment below.